Welcome to the My Creative Days podcast, where we will talk about all things DIY, home decor, decorating tips, and creating a beautiful home on a budget. I am hoping our time together will spark a creative idea, help you plan your next DIY, or inspire you to finally tackle that project you keep putting off. Grab your favorite cup of motivation and let's chat. Hello and welcome back to the podcast. Today I'm going to share listeners' email that was sent in to me. I love it when you send me emails for topic ideas or things you're dealing with or struggling with that you think somebody else could benefit from. So today I'm going to dive into this email, and basically the story is, it hit home for me because it's so true, and so many of us do this in different aspects. This may not be your exact story, but we all have a story or something similar to this that we have dealt with in different areas. So she basically was talking about overcoming the overwhelm. Let me just start with her story. And then we'll kind of go from there. So she bought her home about 15 months ago, and she quickly found herself overwhelmed with all the little projects that needed to get done. But despite loving the home and realized that in over a year, she hadn't worked on any of those projects. The overwhelming feeling of I have so much to do led to her doing nothing. And this doesn't have to be in a new house. This could be just like one room, or maybe it's just your garage, or maybe it's projects that you have to do at work. This affects all of us. So I thought this was a great podcast to kind of chat about and go through. So she started asking herself, am I depressed? Do I hate my house? But she realized it's neither one of those. There's something deeper going on. She was feeling down, but it wasn't the reason for her inaction. She was really struggling with how with all these project ideas that she had floating around in her head. She had no place to organize them and no plan to tackle them. And it was just like the overwhelm of all of it, right? So she started making a list. And if you are like me, you love a good list. And I have been known to, I'll have a list that's maybe not written down, and I will get that list done that I've got in my head, and I will write the list just so I can scratch the thing off the list. Anybody else weird like that? You just love the motion of going in and checking off a list or crossing it off your list. Matt and I, let's just say I'm making a list for Matt, or just things that we have to do. And so, there's certain things like on the list that Matt will need to do and other things I can do. And so Matt, let's just say it's something out in the garage and I needed him to do something. And so he will go out to the garage and do that, but then he'll find something else that he needs to do. So he will even come in, cross off the thing that was on the list, but that other little thing he found that needed done, he'll write that on and cross that off too. So then there's two things done instead of just one. So if you're a list person, you totally understand. You understand that. And making a list can make a huge difference in anything you're feeling overwhelmed with. Just writing it down and just seeing it in front of you and just being able to organize your thoughts and putting them down. So you're writing it. If you're like a tech person and want to do it that way, that's fine too. But actually just getting it out of your head and down on something is going to be the first step to make the biggest difference. And why do we feel overwhelmed by projects? Number one, decision paralysis. We have so many things that we're focused on, especially nowadays. It's like our brain just struggles to, pick up at a starting point. And so instead of tackling the to-dos, you just don't do anything, right? Because it feels safer than making the wrong choice. You don't know which decision you're going with yet, but when you're making a list, you don't have to worry about the decisions just yet, right? You can just get the list down. But a lot of times, with a lot of things, if you have to make a decision about the thing that you need to do, sometimes that alone, the decision part, will make you feel overwhelmed and you won't do anything. And mental clutter, we've all got it. We've all got all of these tasks bouncing around, and not even like a task that you're putting off, but like your daily task, your work tasks that you do, without even thinking about it, your cleaning tasks, doing the dishes, like all of those things take up mental energy. So the more we try to keep in our brains, the more exhausted we feel. So just getting it out, like I said, especially with those certain things like projects in a house, getting it out and putting it down on paper is just going to help so much. So, and I say paper, but you know what I mean. If you're somebody that likes to use like your phone or whatever, or something, an app maybe that you like. I am such a pen and paper person. I'm just old school like that. So that's definitely how it works for me. How can making lists overcome that sense of overwhelm? Well, first of all, it's like I said, it's a brain dump, right? So you don't need to organize it yet, right? When you're just making a list, just get it out. Like I kind of talked about, just get the thoughts out of your head, out of that mental space, and just get it down on paper. And that alone is just going to give you some relief, right? Like, okay, you don't have to hold on to it. You don't have to remember it all. You don't have to, you've got it all on paper. It's all accounted for. Does that make sense? Like, okay, it's all accounted for. I don't need to hang on to this anymore. And then, if it's, we're going to run with the house because that's what this email was about. And I think a lot of us can relate to that. But then once you've got the brain dump down, then you can start organizing the tasks, right, into categories. Maybe it's you categorize it by room. Maybe it's you categorize it by the project type, like it's painting or it's decorating or it's, building, where it's actually like, more work. Maybe it's yard work, whatever it is. You can start organizing. So this gives you clarity and allows you to see the big picture in a smaller, more manageable section. And then you can start creating subtasks. So like within each category that you have, create a little sub list. So if, let's just say your main category is you're going to paint the bedroom. Your sub list might be choose the paint color, buy the paint, prep the walls. When this email came in, I immediately thought about organizing, and I have organized our house, like obviously for years, but there was a point in time where I actually put an ad in the paper back in the day when you did that to go into people's homes and help them organize, because I just love doing it. Like I could go in and organize, like it's not work for me, right? I just love that. I just love it. And so when this came in about the overwhelm, it's just like when you think about when you're trying to organize, let's say the garage, your closet, the junk drawer, like those, even the small junk drawer can be so overwhelming for people. But when you create smaller tasks, and instead of saying, I have to get the entire garage, organized, done this Saturday afternoon, like it's not going to work that way, right? The reason it hasn't been done and the reason your garage isn't organized is because it's going to take some time and it can't be done in 3 hours, right? So just making it, what is the saying? Putting it into bite-sized chunks, or you can't eat an elephant in one bite, or whatever it is. Making it into smaller tasks is going to relieve that overwhelm. And so it's the same thing with projects in your home. Like Matt and I have flipped homes. We've had a rental property, like just making things into smaller tasks and not thinking, okay, this weekend we're going to flip this house, right? Everything we did and every project we did, it was, into more bite-sized, okay, this afternoon we are doing, whatever it is, the yard work. This afternoon we are doing the bathroom vanity. Like it just helps so much, and it just makes it more manageable. So the next step would be, after you've got the subcategories, your main categories, is making a list of the supplies you need, right? So like these lists, they're so good. They're so good. So, it helps planning. So that's a big thing, but it also gives you momentum. So now you know exactly what you need. You also get a good look at what you don't need to buy. We've all done it, but when you don't know what you have, you're just continuously buying things that you don't need, right? So let's just say, because we're sticking with the house. So maybe it's caulk you need for a project, right? Well, you've got 4 tubs in the basement. So you don't need to go waste more money and buy that, right? So gathering your supplies. So if it's paint the living room, maybe you need filler for some holes in the wall or whatever. Like, go around your house and your garage and see what supplies you already have. So as you make the list, I need to caulk the holes. I need to wash the walls. I need to remove the trim or, fix the trim, whatever it is. As you're making those sub tasks, then with each of those, it's going to be a supply, right? Like, okay, I need a hammer. Okay, I need a drill. I need filler. I need caulk. I need cleaner for the walls. So I need a bucket. I need, breaking it all down. And then as you're going around your house, and saying, okay, where's the bucket? Where's the caulk? Do I have caulk? Do I have primer? I have primer left over from the other bedroom. So, you know what I mean? Like, don't buy things, that you already have. And so creating that list will make sure that you're not doing that. And now you've got your list for all those things. Now it's time to prioritize, right? So some projects are more urgent than others. And this is, something we learned in our flip house. Like, okay, we don't need to go around and do, let's just say, touch up paint in the bedroom we just painted, when we need to fix this entire, the plumber's coming to do this. So we need to make sure that we've got the sink done or the cabinets done or whatever it is, right? Like, every project, especially in your home like that, you need to prioritize and kind of has an order. Maybe something needs to be done before the weather changes. Maybe, like one of the flip houses we had, they thought that water was coming in. Well, it's because nobody had cleaned out the gutters in years. Around the house, the way the drainage was, it was coming towards the basement windows. Like, it was such easy fixes, but yet, we needed to get it done before the snow came in and we couldn't see what was in the gutters, or you know what I mean? Like, the snow was covering everything. So maybe it's just the weather changes, right? That you have to get something done before winter settles in or whatever. Or again, maybe you have a deadline. So there's a project in your house and the plumber's coming on such and such date, and he asked you that, you remove everything out of the cabinet, or you make sure that new cabinet is installed before he comes in to set up the sink, whatever it is. So rank your tasks on your list so you know which ones to tackle first, and then focus on just one thing at a time, right? Just going through that list and checking them off, as you have prioritized them. And I say this a lot, but then celebrate the small wins, right? So it might be that you have, 100 things on your list and you've written them all down, so you're feeling better about it. But then you look at the list as a whole and you're like, oh my gosh. But some of those things on your list are, cleaning out, something like cleaning out the junk drawer so you can put, I'm so throwing things out here, like drawer liners in. You know what I mean? Like, some of those 100 tasks are real small, minute things, and celebrate those small things that you get done. Celebrate the smallest thing, from taking moving the trash can from point A to point B so you can start a project. Like, that right there, that little task, you had to get that done to move on to the next task, to get the bigger task all the way done. Do you know what I mean? So celebrate the small wins, right? I've heard it both ways. Sometimes people say, get the simplest things off your list first thing, or get the most challenging things done first thing. I don't know. I mean, if it's work related, the first thing I'm doing when I get to my desk, it's always the simplest thing, right? Like the things that don't even take a brain cell to get done, right? Like those things that you just go through the motion and do. And then I save the harder things usually for later on. But just find what works for you. There's no right or wrong answer. The right answer is you need to get this done. And whatever is going to work for you, that's the right way to do it. So some practical tips for creating lists that will actually work for you. So I kind of talked about some of these, but use a notebook or a digital tool. So you just need to find a system that works for you. And that's what I have a lot of organization content on the website as well. And it's literally whatever system is going to work for you. That's the one you need to go with. Just figure out which kind of person you are and what works best for you, and stick with that. Set realistic goals. So this is one that Matt and I, we don't argue about it, but he'll say, let's just say with our flip houses, or back in the day when we were working on our house all the time, he would say, okay, write down a list of what you want to get done on Saturday or whatever day. And so I would go through and I literally, like, I just was always shooting for the stars. When we would get a flip house, I would tell like my parents and anybody else that asked me, okay, what's your deadline? 3 months. When we started getting the bigger ones, I was like, okay, let's push it to 4. But I was really, and they used to think I was crazy. And I'm the type of person that's like, you think I'm crazy? Watch me do it, right? Like, I don't want to hold this house for longer than I need to. And so it's like 3 months, we've got this. And we were working full time and doing this on the side. And sometimes Matt and I, with our the realistic goals, that's what I am still talking about, is I shoot for the stars when I need to like just, okay, let's get more realistic, Lindsay. Because he'll look through my list and he'll be like, there's no way, Lindsay. Like, there's no way we're going to get all this done. So don't overwhelm yourself with 20 tasks in one day and 20 like big tasks, or even if it's 10 small and 10 big, like that's still a lot. Set realistic daily goals that's not going to overwhelm you and that you're going to feel good about it at the end of the day. And then review your list daily. So this is a huge thing. So obviously you've got your list and what you think you're going to get done. And then as you're getting things done, you may have to add things to a list or you may have to take things off of a list. So always adjust, be flexible. But you just keep reviewing your list daily. And if you're a list person like me, that list, like you're at it all the time. Like you're looking at it, you're kind of reorganizing it, or you're taking things off and putting things on. So you just need to review it daily, weekly, depending on what your deadline is or what your project actually is, review it and check off accomplishments. So this, I mean, hello, do I even need to say this? This is why we make lists. So you can physically check them off. That's like the best part about it, right? So it's the most rewarding part about it. Oh my gosh. Like I said, I will even write things down that weren't on my list, but since I got them done, I put them on the list just so I can check them off. So, and if you know, like that's why we make lists. So I appreciate this email. That's all I had for this topic. Like I said, your emails, or I get people reaching out to me on Instagram as well at My Creative Days. They just help so much because, something you're like, this was a story email where she was kind of talking about, something personal that she was going through, but she thought it could help somebody else. And so, yes, send those to me as well. If I think they are a great fit, I would love to record a podcast about it, because I always say, if one person has a question or is dealing with a issue or a topic or needs help with something, at least 5 more people, 10 more people have that same thing. So I know it's going to help more people. So please keep sending them in. My email, lindsay@mycreativedays.com. Like I said, on Instagram @mycreativedays. Please share this podcast. It always helps us for you to share the podcast. It's kind of hard to see who's listening to a podcast. It's not like social media. So when you rate, review, and share this podcast, we just thank you from behind this little microphone that I have. It just helps us so much. So until next time, I hope you have a great day, and I will talk to you very soon. Hello, friends. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. I'm grateful that you tune in every week and that you share the show with your family and friends. I love having creative chit chats with you, and my hope is that this podcast will inspire you to try a new project, start a DIY that you've been putting off, and decorate your home exactly how you want it. There are a few ways you can help us with the podcast. Follow the podcast so you don't miss an episode. And if you could take a few minutes to leave the podcast a review, that would help us so, so much. Again, thank you for being here, and I look forward to our chat next week. Bye-bye.